Welcome to The Bold. On 17th of May, this week on Friday, leaders from Mount Kenya region are going to converge in Nakuru in what they have dubbed Limuru 3. And this meeting will bring together regional leaders and, according to organizers, across the political divide, including also the businessmen from the region and also a host of and also other residents that will be allowed in that meeting. And that meeting has attracted reaction, with Kenya Kwanza team Kimani Ichung'wah and the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua asking the organizers to seek approval from them, or rather, instead of going to somewhere to sit and talk and what they have termed tribal meetings, the grievances and whatever is going to be discussed there should be taken to the leadership so that it can be addressed. The leaders, however, have come out and the UDA team have come out accusing the Uhuru axis behind the Limuru 3 of undermining the Ruto regime. But again, a report has emerged about the divide and the tension within the Mount Kenya ranks about that meeting.
Wiki moja kabla ya kikao cha Limuru 3 kufanyika katika eneo la Limuru, kaunti ya Kiambu, tofauti na ubabe wa kisiasa katika eneo la Mlima Kenya zinatishia kulemaza ajenda ya mkutano ambao unafaa kujadili masuala nyeti yanayokabili Mlima Kenya kisiasa na kibiashara. Tofauti za kisiasa kati ya viongozi wa UDA, wabunge wa zamani na washirika wa rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta, Martha Karua na Jeremiah Kioni, ambao ndio wapangaji wa kikao hicho, zimesheheni hii wiki baada ya naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua na mbunge wa Kikuyu Kimani Ichung'wah kupinga kikao hicho.
Let my sister Martha come. Let Jeremiah Kioni come. Instead of coming to say, to disturb the people of Limuru when we are having floods, we are having many challenges, we have an office.
Invites me directly, not in the marketplace, especially if it's a person-to-person talk. I have not received any invitation, and I repeat, I don't take a marketplace invitation.
Wapangaji wa Limuru 3 wanatarajiwa kufanya kikao siku ya Jumanne wiki ijayo kumalizia mpangilio wa mkutano, huku ikiwemo orodha ya viongozi watakaohudhuria. Wabunge wa UDA wamejitenga na kikao hicho ambacho wahusika wake wengi ni washirika wa rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta na zaidi ya vyama 10 ndogo kutoka Mlimani. Wabunge wa zamani na washirika wa rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta, Jude Jomo na Peter Mwathi, vilevile wamejitenga na kikao hicho baada ya kusemekana wamejiunga na UDA.
The significance is that the region is coming together on its own motion to determine her destiny.
Kikao hicho cha jamii ya Gema kinatarajiwa kuangazia ushuru wa juu unaotozwa na serikali ya Kenya Kwanza, rasilimali ambazo zimetengewa eneo hilo, kando na ongezeko la wakaazi, masaibu ya wafanyabiashara na uratibu wa mipaka ya maeneo bunge.
And therefore, if people are going to discuss issues that affect the mountain, yes. But if it is issues to do with who has the biggest muscles in politics, then the agenda is not the same.
Kabla ya siku ya Ijumaa, kibarua cha Limuru 3 ni jinsi eneo hilo linaweza zungumza kwa sauti moja kando na siasa za migawanyiko. Apple Kamau, TV47.
And of course, I've just gathered, I think in one of the Mount Kenya tabloids in Kikuyu is saying, the recent meeting that President William Ruto convened with a host of leaders from Kiambu, this Limuru 3 really featured dominantly, with the leaders then being tasked with the responsibility of ensuring they counter the influence that such a political move would have in the region. Remember, this meeting was not attended by the governor, Kimani Wamatangi, and also it was also not attended by Gathoni Wamuchomba. And so what then came out as part of the takeaways was that Kiambu leaders pushed to relaunch attacks on former President Uhuru Kenyatta so that they can dissuade the public from paying attention, or rather the media attention on that event. Number two is to persuade Jubilee allied MPs in Mount Kenya to decamp from Jubilee to UDA. But what has then caused many jitters is that right up that if you look at the merchandise that Jeremiah Kioni has shared in that video, you are seeing some red, the Limuru tree written there, the merchandise there, and it points out that it's getting a very good backing from the Jubilee Party axis, where Jeremiah Kioni is the Secretary General of the party. And exclusively, what is behind the urgency to stop and or rather to counter the Limuru 3 is the involvement of Maina Njenga, who last December was attracting huge crowds in Mount Kenya before he actually went off the limelight. And part of the organization of this would involve Maina Njenga, a man who you cannot wish away in Mount Kenya in terms of mobilization tactics. Remember, I once mentioned here that in 2013, in 2012 May, when Limuru 2 was organized, Mithika Linturi, who was the Gembe South Member of Parliament, this Mithika that is currently the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Agriculture, and Maina Njenga were behind another Limuru 2B that had been organized to counter the Kamatusa, which was organized to endorse former President Uhuru Kenyatta as the Mount Kenya kingpin. And the reason why this issue is coming up is because the discussion about Limuru 3 will border the kingpin, or rather who is going to be the kingpin. And so they perceived the meeting, much as it has been touted as a Mount Kenya unity forum that is going to be used to address the plight of locals from the region. Kimani Chungwa said that tribal organizations that doesn't have a space in our modern politics, but that is just trying to downplay it. But what the Ruto administration, what the Intel team are so worried about is whether it will be used as a platform to launch anti-Ruto pushback at the moment. And so I want us to look at that and why the Ruto administration have some misgivings with the Limuru 2 administration, with the Limuru 2 planning that is currently underway. Apart from just mentioning that it being a unity forum that is going to bring out the leaders, the organizers are a bit tight-lipped on specific venue. They've just said Limuru. And the reason why that is behind it is because there was some, and I think someone was even saying in one of these newspapers that there have been efforts, there could be efforts to try to derail the meeting block. There was even a plan for some of the leaders to plan some counter political rally around that place, or rather in Mount Kenya or anywhere around Kiambu, so that they can dissuade the public from attending. Remember, in Kiambu, the thinking here is Limuru is a cosmopolitan. And so it's not really true that those who are going to attend are necessarily from one place. And what has then emerged is the mobilization of those that are going there for the Limuru 3 has cut across a section of the clergy, the elders, and also attendees across Mount Kenya counties. And that's an opportunity to go and look at what they're really going to lay on table. Some of those who have been brought to the fray and has kept off the discussion about Limuru 3 is the Sabina Chege, the breakaway Jubilee Access, the Sabina Chege and Jeremiah, the Sabina Chege and the other, and yes, Sabina Chege and the other colleague. I don't even remember the name. The former Kieni member of Parliament. So they've also kept off, but while the bit of the organization of that coming from Jubilee Party, and they've not been part of the team that is punching the other side of it. Now, why Limuru 3 is causing some discomfort within these corridors? Number one, Mount Kenya is already splitting into camps. And so there is an understanding that you can narrow into two camps of Rigathi Gachagua or Ndindi Nyoro. Remember, just today, there is a caucus of youth that have given a speech. It is in Kikuyu, and they are warning Ndindi Nyoro from Murang'a. They are warning Ndindi Nyoro to stop undermining the president. I think someone said that they stop undermining the president. And these speeches have been coming out recently with people raising eyebrows. And I think even I played, there is even a soundbite of Peter Kenneth also raising questions on what exactly is the end game of this. Now, with this camps splitting, that division is emerging. And if that Limuru 3 will degenerate another movement that would attract those who apparently are not part of the UDA team, then that's not going to be, that really stand a chance to divide the mountain. Now, the new tax policies are charging the masses. And the discussion about taxation, it's one discussion that has some misgivings. It's not about a tribe. Just now, there is a motor vehicle tax that has been introduced. I don't know that it's 5% or something. It is a percentage. So that anyone who will buy a car here will be paying 5% motor vehicle tax. And this is, valuation is done on the value of the car. I've also seen VAT on bread and those proposals, and they've started dropping. So by the way, from next week on Monday, I think that is going to be the next discussion that we're going to have on the budget, because the budget estimates, the budget statements are already out. And now I think when I get that document, but there's someone who has that document can share it with us so that I can also look at it. But probably by Monday, we shall have, I personally believe I shall have got it. Now, the new tax policies are charging the masses. And it is also exclusive to the preserve of Mount Kenya to protest on tax touching on agriculture, which is also coming in that documentation. It is also coming. So that is why they are not very comfortable with this discussion that will mobilize people together. Remember, even if they write an MOU, so how is it going to be addressed? I want to believe, and I don't buy the narrative of Rigathi Gachagua, because from what he wants, if he believes whatever this forum is coming up with this is not a government forum. So he is a deputy president, yes. But that Limuru 3 is not a government forum. For he believes that he's trying to say, instead of going to Limuru to disturb what Limuru due to floods and all this, and you look at that reasoning, you should just write your grievances, then you bring them to me as someone in government. Then this is why I ask, as duty bearers, as someone who is in the office, do you think you need a Limuru 3 to act? If yourself you believe there are things, there are problems somewhere, so the system should be there to solve. So the reason why Limuru 3 is not giving people sleepless nights is because part of those resolutions, part of the deliberations that will be there, where will you think they will be taken? What is the avenue they will use to pursue them? Will they take the discussion to the people of now conducting many of such events across the countries and mobilizing the people to reject? Do you want to believe that Martha Karua can leave that meeting and then the next day you see him in Rigathi Gachagua's office with a document that after Limuru 3, we agreed on XYZ, and now we've brought this to you so that you can act on. Do you want to believe that that can be the fate? That is not it. So they have also, and I also believe that even part of the organizers of Limuru 3 largely are people that are not mostly, they're not in government, non-elected. So they'll push it outside parliament. And if it's going to be a push outside parliament, then what you know here, NADCO is here and there have been an echoes of a referendum. I don't want to go there. But then, even outside parliament, they also have MPs. They have MPs. They can give it through the MPs and try to push it. Then we see whether it can be supported. For example, if a deliberation is arrived at on 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, then do you want to tell me that it will be a role of Martha Karua to go and look for Rigathi Gachagua for that thing to be passed? So that is why it's really not, it's giving them very big dilemma. Number 3, so who is going to the face of Limuru 3? The face of Limuru 3 so far is Martha Karua. But then there are other silent forces behind it that are not being seen. I've just told you that if the moment they realized that Maina Njenga is largely one of the people behind that are working behind the scene, they're not feeling very comfortable with it as to whether, because when you talk about mobilization could be it. I listened to his lawyer when Njenga was talking about this just recently in a television interview, and you can see how they're deliberately pushing this agenda. Will Martha Karua become an alternative? Remember, it cannot wish that away. Lastly, if there is a question that someone may want an answer, and the answer is not there, and it's the question that is bothering President Ruto, is this: Uhuru Kenyatta is not on ballot. So Uhuru Kenyatta is not gonna vie. What do you think will be his interest in such? And I saw them underlining the fact that if the public will compare, the more Uhuru remains in the picture, there is one danger in that. The more Uhuru remains in the picture, Kenyans will start comparing. I recently listened to the teachers in Eldoret, JSS teachers in Eldoret, saying, heri huyo mlevi kuliko huyu mwetwakani. So the comparison of what you do, what you did, and because the benchmark of Ruto administration, by the way, is Uhuru Kenyatta. See, you campaigned on a platform of Uhuru has done 0, 0, 0. Uhuru has not done anything. Uhuru has not. So the country is having a very easy benchmark. That, okay, you said Uhuru didn't do this and you do it differently. You didn't say, they've never referred to, this is a colonial problem you have for the last 50 years. By the way, President Ruto did not say he wants to solve he wants to solve the problems that have affected this country for the last 50 years. He actually said he wants to came up to solve problems that maybe predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta never solved. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my take. Thank you very much for listening.